Welcome to Life Experiences with Dr. Amanda. Today we're focusing on saying no, knowing that as Christians, it is okay for us to say no sometimes. Paul gave two great understandings out of two different scriptures, and one of those is, let all things be done with charity. And when we know that we are doing things in charity, we know that we're not being selfish about it. We're doing it unselfishly. And so when we're saying no, that's something to consider. As well as he has another scripture that said, do things in decency and in order. Let all things be done decently and in order. And so when we're talking about saying no, of course, we always use the wisdom of the word. If you're anything like me, I'm that kind of person that I find it difficult to say no because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want people to feel like they can't depend on me. I don't want to let anybody down, and I like for people to like me. And so I find it difficult to say no because when you say yes, of course, it makes people happy and it appears that you're pleasing them. And so it's okay as long as that saying no isn't putting you in a place of detriment. For example, if you have so many things already lined up and you say no to that individual, then that's going to cause you some inconsistencies in your life. There's going to cause some issues in your life. And you know what else? Even if you say no, just because it's not something you want to do at that time, that's totally fine. You do not owe anyone an explanation for that. We don't owe anyone an explanation for that. And there's a scripture that talks about wisdom being the principal thing. If I'm always saying yes, then I'm not allowing myself time to do the things that I need to do, including rest. Rest is one of those things that we need. And when I'm always saying no, yes to people and not saying no, sometimes that causes bitterness because after I've taken on that responsibility, it puts me out of sorts. It may cause me some issues. And so that causes me to be bitter. So we're causing ourselves to have experiences that we really don't need to have. We already are going to have enough of our own trials without adding more on there. And so keep in mind, Jesus was meek, lowly, and humble, but he wasn't weak. And so when we're constantly saying yes to people because we're afraid to say no or we don't want to hurt them, in a sense, sometimes that's being a pushover and being weak. So when we do say yes all the time, also that can impact our lives in other ways. For example, with my marriage. If every time my husband asks me to do something and really I disagree in a sense, but I don't have a communication with him or I don't talk about it, that can put a bridge of some sort in our marriage because it's something that I'm doing grudgingly. And even on the workplace, I know that not too long ago, I was asked to head up a project. Well, the project had nothing to do with what my job title is. And so I nicely said no. But what would have been the outcome is that I would have been taking on meetings that would take place on a regular basis, and they would have been impeding me from doing the job that I was actually hired to do. So we have to take all of those things into consideration. And I want to end with this last thing. I always say that Jesus is always our greatest example in the Word. And so, when the blind man came to Jesus and he wanted to see, Jesus anointed his eyes with the clay. He made the spit in the dirt and he anointed the blind man's eyes. But you know what? He didn't do everything. He told the blind man to go and wash. So the blind man had to do something. And so sometimes that's what we're doing when we say no to people. And for me, a lot of times, it's the same people sometimes who constantly ask me to do things. Sometimes we have to just say no just to allow those individuals to know that we always can't take the slack or we always can't do it. Even Jesus had people to do something for themselves. Even though he healed and he did miracles, there were some things that he asked for people. There were some things he asked for people to do on their own. So with everything, use wisdom and use discernment for that specific situation. So I'm going to end there. And the next time, we are going to focus on discipline and weight loss. And let me end with this scripture also that I think wraps up this about saying no. For everything, there is a season. You guys be blessed. Make sure that you share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.